I loved recording today's interview with Barry Cryan. He's a fellow systems and productivity coach. And so we're helping people do similar things. But what I loved about this and other times I've interviewed fellow experts is we get an opportunity to discuss our own strategies and how we approach things and see what's working and actually learn from each other. And I think that you'll learn a lot by listening to this about the ways that we approach things and how actually what works works. And when you hear two industry experts saying we've both independently come up with similar strategies to help people, then hopefully it'll show you that this stuff actually works in practice. He's also the co-author of a book with Les Bryan called Unlock the Secrets. And today we share some of his best secrets on how to make you more productive and to get more done in the time you have available without productivity hacks and without stuff that isn't sustainable, from actually changing mindset, changing your approach to how you deal with problems, and some absolutely brilliant takeaways, especially at the end. His closing takeaway is one of the best I've heard and something I strongly believe in, and I've even talked about on this podcast myself in the past. So hope you enjoy listening to this as much as I did recording it. And do remember to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on future interviews like this and other episodes where I share the best tips, tricks and hacks to live with more presence, purpose and freedom. So the question is this: how do entrepreneurs like us who don't have an endless supply of cash, how do we leverage the best apps, virtual assistants, automation tools and systems to scale our businesses, increase our profits and have more time to do what we love to do each day? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. My name's Dr. Steve Day and this is Systemize Your Success. Barry, really nice to have you on the show. I've been excited about having a chat with you since you booked on, and I love the sound of what you do in helping people become more productive and get more done. It's sort of at the heart of a lot of what I love to talk about and what I love to help people do. So I'm really excited about this conversation. So first off, thanks for getting on the show.
Likewise. Thank you, Dr. Steve.
Cool. I'd love to just kick off and find out a bit about the why behind what you do. There's always, I think, an interesting story, but above the or below the surface level of why we go
Yeah.
into business or why we become so passionate and dedicated to the thing we currently do. So I'd love to know a bit about, Barry's world, if it's so to speak. Why is it you do what you do, and exactly what is it that you do to help people?
So that's a great question. Yeah. So, and it's the starting point as well, because literally that's where I started. Was like created all this from my own need originally. Like I like literally going back maybe 12 years ago, 13 years ago, like I was really, really in not a great situation. Like well, to cut a long story short, I basically woke up one morning with flu-like symptoms. Um, you know, thought it was a flu, kind of evolved into worsening symptoms, brain fog, and real bad chronic fatigue. And over a period of weeks and months, I really kind of came to a standstill about how I could perform, how I could operate at work as a safety engineer that was my background, working in pharmaceutical companies across the west and northwest of Ireland, and I was struggling to actually get my do my job basically. And the problem was I could not find any answers to actually what was wrong with me. I was going to doctors and consultants and going around the country and couldn't really find any answers. So like in my mind it was like I had to find a way to keep going while I was really struggling. And what I needed to do was kind of find a better way of operating. So I remember I went to one consultant and she'd done tests and she said my energy levels were probably they were maybe about 15% of what they should have been. And I was like, I used to have to go into the bathroom cubicle, lock the door behind me, kind of rest my eyes for 15, 20 minutes to get me going for the next hour and a half. Not a sustainable way to live or work at all. So while I was searching for answers, which went on ultimately for 2.5 years, I had to find a better way. So I always, when it's something I always do now, but it's something I started doing then, was I looked out and I was like, well, how are people like, Sir Richard Branson and these people like doing what they do, running multiple, billion-dollar companies. I'm here trying to struggle to do my job. There must be a better way to actually operate. And I started just going out there, YouTube, and I got a Kindle at the time one Christmas, and I was going to town on Kindle buying books, and then eventually into seminars, and eventually getting into the same room as people that are operating at a completely different level to me. And I started to see commonalities between how they operate. And I was like, started testing some of their strategies, implementing some of this stuff, discarding what didn't work, taking what did work. And even while I was still sick, like I was getting probably about 1 day's work done in every five. Not a sustainable way to work. I was like, I'm not going to even hold on to my job here, right? But when I really dialed this stuff in, I was actually completely reversed the tables. I was getting about 5 days work done in one, which sounds kind of, like way over the top to most people, as in, that couldn't be right. And it's something I actually ask all my clients now. We measure baseline at the start, we measure it again at the end, and so it's clear and obvious that they are getting that and more. But it's amazing what systems and structures will do for us. You can get significantly more out of ourselves. And I always ask them, look, do you feel you're getting more than 5x? And every one of them, they're always like, yeah, I am absolutely, and more than that. And it's like something you have to actually go through to believe it. But that's the level I was at while I was still sick. And look, cut a long story short, through a freak series of coincidences, I ended up in the Czech Republic getting treatment in a specialist centre over there. I had this autoimmune condition that they don't really, unfortunately, know much about in Ireland. Went over there, and it was, again, through a series of coincidences, had to get treated over there. But I was basically a month in a room on my own over there. So obviously get a lot of time to pause and think. And I never thought about this stuff. I was only thinking about myself selfishly. And I always thought, actually, I thought at that point, like, well, I have a skill and a system that I had to develop for my own need. And I looked around the office at home, and I was like, this person is operating off sticky notes. This person is like stressed beyond belief. This person is working all the hours. Like, I was like, none of them really have a proper process or system for how they do things. And there is a better way. I know that better way now because I learned the hard way. But I started to think, well, maybe I could help people find that better way. So I started documenting things a little bit more formally over there. I started helping out a few friends and family when I came back, and I started seeing them get results. And then I was like, okay, there's a little bit more in this than I even thought about. And it eventually evolved then over time into doing free stuff online. I started getting braver at the start of COVID, like a lot of people are putting out stuff online. I hadn't even changed my Facebook profile photo in 10 years before that. So that'll tell you the extent of my online involvement. That evolved then into helping people at a deeper level, and evolved into the process now I work through with business owners. And that's it. Like you asked me there at the second question was like, what do I do? Well, it's literally putting systems and structures in place for business owners and get the most out of themselves, their time, their business, and ultimately their life as well.
Fantastic. Barry, it's so interesting to hear your story. I mean, I come from slightly different places. I didn't have the same experience with you, for example, with having to go off the Czech Republic for treatment, but so many similarities with why we start businesses. I think for so many people I speak to about this. And I think one of the things that really comes through, and which I spent a lot of time over recent years doing, is understanding our superpowers, like why we are so damn good at doing something. And just like you, my superpowers, I believe, have come from me overcoming all the challenges that I've faced in life. And I think that
Yeah,
anyone I've ever spoke to will actually have that similar story, even if they haven't connected the dots yet. And sometimes people think like they look at us and they'll think, oh, you've always been like this productive person, you're this productivity coach. Of course, you can say all that, and it, of course it's easy for you. And I think what people don't often realize is actually we have been in a place where this was the hardest thing. This is the one thing we couldn't actually get
yeah,
past. And it's because we got past it, we are now in a position to be able to serve and help other people. And if it wasn't a challenge, we would have never put the work in to figure out how to do it better. So,
absolutely.
I love that story. You come from a place of, authentic need to solve a real problem for you. And then when you start talking about it in the open world or the outside world, you suddenly realize actually there's other people that might actually benefit from this.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like now I'm a great believer of condensing time, as in I could figure it out myself, or I could, condense 10 or 20 years of my time into weeks or months by taking someone else's knowledge and applying that, to get and getting the actual results I want. Not spend 10 years, going down the wrong road or figuring out in 5 years, geez, I'm heading in the wrong direction here. So it's condensing time, yeah, condensing other people's knowledge into a shorter window.
Okay, well, with that in mind, let's do just that because I'm massively interested in productivity. I suffer with well, not suffer with. I am an ADHD character brain, and that's the way that I see the world. But that also means that quite often I am very unproductive because I'm easily distracted and I go down rabbit holes and all the rest of it. All those common challenges that people with ADHD have to deal with. And so productivity is like a massive thing on my agenda of always trying to improve. I'm way better than I used to be, but there is massive room for improvement. So if I'm going to condense your knowledge, your 10 years of experience and expertise, like into a few like nuggets to actually like really make a big difference, like what can the listeners like take away today? Some of your top tricks or tips that you help people
Yeah.
to do, actually just see the world differently, the mindset shifts people need to make, those principles that actually make the biggest difference. Like, go on, share some of your best stuff with us.
Yeah. So like one of the biggest things we can do is to be like clear and specific about, well, what what is it we want? Where do we want to go? How many hours do we want to work? How do we want things to run? How much do we want to earn? Most people, and that nearly all the business owners I talk to, they're not really clear. They want to earn more money and they want to work less, but they're not really clear and specific about exactly what it is they need to do, exactly what those endpoints are. If you're heading out on the road and you're like, look, I just want to go somewhere nice, well, you'll end up anywhere. Maybe somewhere that's not that nice and we're not that happy with. So you have to be so clear and specific about what those endpoints are. And most people get bogged down in the here and now, as in, yeah, but this is wrong, and I probably need to hire someone. And I said, park that for a moment. Let's just see how you want things to run. Because it's very hard to join the dots going forward. Because what happens is we join the dots going forward, we go this way for a while, and then we go this way for a while, and we're drifting really. What I do is I start with the end in mind and I reverse engineer back from that. Steve Jobs always talked about it being much easier to connect the dots when you start with the end and you come back from that point. So you can see, well, in order for me to achieve this, what would I need to do that? Okay. And then in order for me to achieve that, what do I need to do that? And so on and so forth. So you can see where you need to spend your time and energy in order for you to achieve these. What would need to change? What would need to happen? Who would you need to have on board? And that's the starting point. Okay. Then what you need to do is if you're clear about where you are, okay, and you're clear about the end point, you have your GPS properly set up. The middle bit then that most people miss, even if they do that, which not many people do, is you need a vehicle to get you there. And that's what the systems are. And that's what a lot of people miss is, oh, the goals and all that nice stuff sits in the shelf gathering dust. And then in a year's time, they look back and they're like, Jesus, we didn't really do much on that. And look, next year is going to be different. It's rinse and repeat every year. So what I do then at that point is I create systems to bridge the gap to get people to where they need to be at the end of the day. And one of the best ways that we can do that is take away a reliance of willpower and motivation, discipline, and all these fleeting things that are there some days and not others. And I put people's reliance on systems. What happens for most business owners I talk to is they just have way too many micro decisions to make because they don't have systems. Everything is a micro decision. Will I do that thing, or the email, or someone looking for something over here, or there's a call, or Jesus, I forgot to do this, I better do. Spend a lot of the time being reactionary. But what systems do is they massively reduce the amount of micro decisions and they create predictable outcomes. For example, one of the things I want to do is avoid sweets and sugar Monday to Friday. Now, say if I'm 5 days good and I'm 2 days bad, so be it. I'm happy with that. That will bring me, that will bring me the 80% of the way there, which I'm happy with because life isn't perfect. So what I do is my system is this. It's not something fancy. It's just I massively reduce the amount of micro decisions I have to make. So I don't have it in the house Monday to Friday. And then my only decision is, will I buy it when I go to the shop the weekend? So instead of me making decisions all the time, will I have it now? Will I have it later? Will I have a lot? Will I have a little? Will I just save it to tomorrow? Me making all those micro decisions every day, it means I'm just going to cave in at some point. Instead, I've only one decision to make once a week. It's easier to get that one decision right than it is to get hundreds of decisions right during my week. So that's a very simple example of a system that creates an outcome for me. So I have goals around that stuff, health, exercise, all that sort of stuff. So one of the things I need to do is have a little system around making sure I don't go around the rabbit hole of sweets, because if I do, I'm a disaster. So I don't do it. I have a system that helps me create the outcome. So it again, it's systems that are the bit that allow you to create those outcomes because they're massively reducing the amount of microdecisions. So you need to be clear and specific, kind of understand now why we need to be clear and specific about those endpoints, what that looks like. You need a roadmap, okay? Then you also need a system that will help you get there. Okay. Sometimes people think, oh, I just need to be more disciplined, or let's get more focused, or what's wrong with me that I'm not doing it, or they're not consistent with doing it. It's just you need a better system. That's all it is. And that's probably the biggest thing for me. Systems and being so clear and specific, you could almost draw it.
I love it. And I love the focus on the end in mind first, because it is so easy to say and it's so rarely done well. And I speak from my own experience as much as anybody else that
Yeah,
I've ever tried to help with this stuff. And until you've actually got some clear idea of where you're trying to get to, exactly what you described, then you're going to end up anywhere, because unless you've got a direction. And I remember doing this exercise with one of my coaches, which was I actually approached him or started working with him thinking that it was going to be more about marketing and about strategy, about growth and scaling. And he actually got me to sit down and do an exercise, which was forget even the business, forget even like what your goals are, like monetary, whatever. It's just like, who do you want to be? Like, take it down to the absolute essence. Like, imagine yourself 10 years from now. Imagine that person. Like, if you got the opportunity to speak to that person and they are everything you've ever wished you would turn out to be in life, like, who would that
yeah,
person be?
yeah,
What needs to change today to take you one step closer to that person, that personality, or that, that being, that and
yeah,
that contentment and peace in life. And that for me was a huge just
yeah.
guiding star for everything. Or then it helps with all the business decisions and everything as well. So
100%. That's
yeah,
like exact. It's a six-stage process I go through at the start with people. One of them is exactly that. Because if you're, I call it that 10.0 version you, what does that optimal
yeah,
10.0 version you, that it's almost like, because most people think, I'll be happy after I achieve the goal. I'll feel confident when I achieve the goal. I'll eat, all the right things will happen when I achieve. But actually, we need to be that person now so that we get there faster. Because when you're that person now, what happens is you collapse timelines. You start taking actions and making decisions in alignment with the person that already has achieved that goal. And if you do that, guess what? You're going to get there far faster. That's so crucial. That's a little bit that most people miss.
yeah.
Yeah, it's really
I missed
powerful.
it. I missed it for many, many years. And I
Yeah,
remember during these conversations, I was like, because it perspired like one of my highest values has always been freedom. So most
yeah,
of my big decisions in life have led to an ability for me to choose what I do with my time and also where I live as well.
yeah,
But that was also at a cost to other areas of my life. So that how much presence I had, like with
yeah,
my family, how much peace I
mm,
felt internally. And it was only after actually realizing that those are the things, like those are the pieces of the puzzle that have to be there for it to actually be sustainable. And we talk about, if you talk about people like, and they have a monetary value of where they want to achieve,
yeah,
but that isn't linked directly to this work you're talking about now. Is it the 10.0, did you say, the version of yourself?
yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So if that's not linked, then whatever their monetary value, like
yeah,
if it's in conflict with their actual who they want to be, that
yes,
they'll pull away from it and they'll never get there. And this is what I've seen
exactly.
myself do so many times over the years.
Yeah,
So yeah, no, this is absolutely essential work. So yeah,
it
brilliant.
is. It's so interesting because yeah, you want to earn X, but people sabotage themselves because they're like, oh, that means I'm gonna have to take on people, and they might have a belief around that, or that means I have to work X hours, which is a conflict with their family values, and they end up sabotaging themselves. Then so it has to align. Yeah, yeah, and that's a massive thing that really can help smooth the path before us. Is when we're so clear about that stuff, and we start to become it, and we start to be it, and then what happens? We achieve it. Then
Yeah. I remember one thing I came up with in one's conversation was freedom in, freedom out. You can't live from a place of you can't strive for freedom if you don't actually live freedom. It's like,
yeah,
and whatever your word is there, peace in, peace out, whatever it is,
yeah,
is actually live it today. So exactly what you just said. Yeah,
yeah,
massive believer of this. Okay, cool. So thinking on from this, and I think like this is sort of like sometimes taking it to the next stage now, which is obviously for us the first stage we know people need to do, but for some people it's like, yeah, but I just feel overwhelmed. I just feel trapped. I just feel like the business that I set out to create is not what is reality for me. Like, how do you help people break free from that initial place of just overwhelm or whatever word they actually use to describe the hell they've created for themselves?
so to feel overwhelmed because there will have so much going on, so many moving parts, and it feels like it's all on them. So what I do is I take the mental baggage off them, I place it in the systems or processes. So one of the things I build out with a lot of my clients is what I call a second brain. So we take all the moving parts, we take all those individual things, and we get it into a system. Okay, because it's hard to life is hard when the cup is always full. It's like we can't. we feel overwhelmed. Like one extra thing, I was talking to a guy earlier, and it was like it was one of his kids. He was coaching one of his kids, teams and stuff like that. And he said, look, he got so frustrated at one point he had to actually step back, and he was like, "What is wrong with me?" But actually, his cup was already so full. One extra thing was just tipping it. So what I want to do is get people to park the mental baggage in a process or a system, and house it there, because it's easier when you see everything in front of you. Okay, when you know what to do at any given day and time, and even if you have 100 things you need to do, knowing that this is the next thing I need to do allows you to close down all the open tabs in your brain, so you can just keep one tab open. Okay, this is the next thing that we need to do here. Okay, this is the so what I get people is to be process driven, to park it all in a place in a system or in a second brain, so that then they can just focus. They can close down all those open tabs and just focus on that next thing. And that allows people to rest easier, knowing that, like, if I just follow the process, I'm going to create the outcome. That's a huge thing, because it's just people are carrying it around with us, and that's why they feel overwhelmed. That's why they procrastinate. That's why they get distracted or don't follow through. Really, it's because their just cup is so full right now. So it's parking it somewhere. Having a system you can actually park it into, so that you can follow that process then to create the outcomes, and you can close down those open tabs in your brain. That's a massive thing. And it almost allows you to focus better, allows you to be better, allows you to, the more you do it, the more you start to trust the process, and the more you actually start to switch off from all those other things that's going on. And it's like a big momentum flywheel. The more that happens, the more downtime you get in your evening, because you're not always thinking about everything all the time. Then the better you recover, and the better you sleep, and the better you feel tomorrow. And then you do get more out of yourself. And then the more you do that, again, you better feel better, and then you want to do more. And it's just like a massive momentum flywheel that just gets better and better over time as you do that. So say that's really the key. It's taking off reliance off you. It's placing it somewhere, in a process or a system. That's the big thing, really.
Yeah. No, I love it. It's so many similarities, or what you're talking about now, to the journey that I went on in the early days of
Yeah,
having this total overwhelm, brain fog from, like you say,
yeah,
just the decision fatigue of
yeah.
just there is just simply too much to do and carrying everything around in your brain. I remember reading a book, David Allen, Getting Things Done, which I'm
Mm,
sure you've read, and
yeah,
he talks about the someday maybe list. And it's a great concept of just having somewhere to park all of that
parking it.
stuff that we carry around with
Exactly.
us, stick
Yeah,
it, and actually the reality is
park it.
most of that stuff will never crop up again, but you know it's there if you need it.
Yeah,
And what I found over the years is actually the important stuff. You don't even need to go looking for it, because the important stuff
yeah.
will find its way back into your agenda,
Of course,
and
of
everything
course.
else can just sit there and just fester or whatever.
Exactly,
So yeah,
exactly.
and I love this though, and the decision, like you were saying before, about having simple systems. I mean, the story you gave, the analogy you gave about the your decision about having sweets during the week. But I think it's a really powerful one, because whatever it is for you, whether it's just food in general, or whether it's alcohol, whether it's
Yeah,
staying up late watching movies, like if you've
yeah,
got a process that you've actually said, look, this is the rules to my
yeah,
game,
yeah.
and you make that ahead of schedule, and then all you've got to do is stick to one rule, not make 50 decisions. And
Exactly.
yeah, I love it. Really
Yeah, like
simple stuff, but not, the way you describe it, I mean, is simple. I think it's really powerful
it's
stuff. But
simple
you
but
describe it
powerful.
simple.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
sometimes it can be overcomplicated. That if you the simpler the better. And even like a guy I was working with, like he was devil for Instagram at night. You go to bed at 11 o'clock, okay, fine. But then he could be to 2 or 3 in the morning just on Instagram scrolling and scrolling. And there's no point telling him, look, just don't do it, or just put your phone somewhere, or just be more disciplined about it. Like that's not going to happen. So we created a system for him. Is just we just set up a little trigger in the phone that logged him out after 15 minutes. So he could only get into Instagram for 15 minutes. So therefore he had his 15 minutes, and then he couldn't do any more. So therefore he went to sleep and he went to bed.
Yeah.
And so it's like simple things really can be really effective.
Yeah, I have lots of these in my life. One of them
Yeah,
I have 18 black t-shirts. So, and I have a black t-shirt on. And now and
yeah,
again I have a couple of shirts I wear, but literally I don't want to make any decisions about what I wear during the week. I just get up and put them on. A bit like
smart.
the guy the scientist off the fly. I'm not trying to. He was a bit of a genius. Maybe I'm not shouldn't be
Yeah,
relating myself to him, but he also turned into a fly. But he also wore the same
yeah,
things every day. So there you go.
exactly.
Anyways.
Yeah,
Um, Barry, what will be the one big takeaway? Like, if someone listens to this now and you think, look, you mentioned a couple of brilliant things already. Is there any other one thing, a framework or a principle that you could give people to go and think about in order to move the gauge forward, if you like, and then if they obviously if it works for them, then maybe look and find out how much more you can help them.
So the big thing is at a certain point is just tell people, look, it doesn't have to be like this. Honestly, we kind of think we feel stuck, and we feel, look, just because it's like this, it kind of feels like it's always going to be this. Like, here in Ireland, when it's raining, it feels, Jesus, we're never going to get another good day. And then when it's sunny, it feels like, Jesus, it's going to be like this forever. And it feels like it's like in life sometimes when it's a certain way, we just feel like we can't break free, or it's going to be like this. But I'm telling you, doesn't matter what the business is, there is a better way, and you can do it. And sometimes little simple changes even can make the biggest can make a difference. It could be very simple things like what I'd always looked for where people is, where's the noise? Where's the noise in their life? And often cases it's calls and interruptions and questions and notifications, and all these individual things in our day are putting massive friction in our way. So I'd say starting point, start to filter the noise from your life. Okay. Like even very simple thing is, the guy I was chatting to there the other day, and like one of the big things for him is like questions. And he's like, but hold on now, people have to ask me questions. People have to come in. I don't want holding people up. I was like, but there's a better way. There's a better way. I was saying to him, look, interruption windows. You have an interruption window in your morning interruption window, and you call them open door times. And just tell people, look, you frame it as a positive thing for people, and you say, look, I I want to help you. Sometimes I'm on a Zoom call, sometimes in the middle of something, and I can't really help you. But what I've done now is I've created interruption windows for you, or I call them open door times. Here's my open door time in the morning. I want you coming to meet with your issues. I want you coming for chats. I want to let me know how you're getting on. But save your questions for those windows so I can really help you. So guess what? Instead of five interruptions in the morning, okay, or more probably for most people, now it's one planned interruption with the five questions. Plus, when you put a little bit of friction in people's way, now they don't need you for all five questions. Because guess what? They've started to solve some of the stuff themselves. So now it's like four or three questions. So it's a double whammy. You're not getting all these friction points in your day and the interruptions. Plus, you're starting to empower a team to step up to the mark now a little bit more and a little bit more. You're not giving them fish all the time. You're handing them the fishing rod, and they have to do a little bit of fishing before they come back to you with the results. So it's like filter the noise in your day. That's a massive thing. It could be people,
Yeah.
it could be notifications being turned off, it could be, calls for certain parts of the day or diverted to one of your team or in the office. You have to start filtering the noise. Like a guy I was chatting to the other day, he was telling me like he could have counted them up. He said there was something like 75 or something calls in one day. There's no way you're getting any work done if you have 75 calls, even if you don't answer them all. So it's like we have to filter that noise. So what he done is just start diverting to an office for certain times of the day. And again, what happened is a little bit of friction between him and his clients and his team. So it's only the important stuff that actually got back to him. And now people started to solve their own problems because they know, look, I'm not going to get you out at the drop of a hat all the time. I have to, because people can solve their own problems. Our team can do that. It's just the easy option is go to us and we have the answers. What we want to do is just pull back a little bit with the answers so they learn themselves and they empower and they grow into who you want them to be. So little tweaks like that can even make a big difference.
Yeah, Barry, I think that is a massive, massive takeaway. This is actually the topic that I've discussed a number of times on the podcast because I think it's so powerful. It's so, I say the word simple, but I know how hard it is to actually do the mindset shift to jump and actually
Yeah,
start pushing people away. But it is such a relatively simple thing to do once you've just committed to it.
yeah,
But like you said, the results there's a snowball of result. It's not just a single like it's not that, oh, I'm going to get back a little bit of time. It's all of the knock-on effects of this. It's the
yeah,
ripples of impact of this one decision to say, look, I'm going to put a little bit of separation between me and the world. And that
yeah,
alone, oh, me and my phone. So I have zero notifications on my phone. My wife drives my wife mad. But there you go. Sorry, Sarah.
yeah,
The weekends it sometimes goes on, but the rest of the time it's off.
yeah.
Because I refuse to be interrupted by a device, which that why should I care when, why should I be interrupted by it? Like I will look at it when
Exactly.
I have time to look at it. And it's that same mindset shift because if we don't do it, then we nothing changes. And so
Nothing
I think
changes.
that is a
Yeah,
a
Yeah,
brilliant insight as a simple step people can take. So if you're listening to this, anybody, and that you don't already do this, like what Barry said, get rid of notifications and put something in between you and the
yeah.
questions that inevitably come your way.
Exactly.
Brilliant advice.
Filter that noise. Filter the
Yeah.
filter the noise. Always think filter the noise. Filter the noise. It reminds me of a story that that a client of mine shared with me before, about their grandmother. And the grandmother, like more than some of my aunts, that the phone was off, that never answered the phone was always off, and they were, why are you not why are you turning your phone off? How come you're not answering it? And then she was like, hold on a second. That phone is for my convenience, not for anyone else's convenience or for your convenience. It's for my convenience. And I thought it was a great way to look at it.
Yeah,
Sometimes we're
yeah.
like, oh, we have to answer, we have to be available to everyone all the time. But I'd say put on your own oxygen mask first. When you do that, you can better serve your clients
Yeah.
or your team because now nobody thanks us for dropping the ball on the big thing because they've answered all the calls and the messages and the WhatsApps, and now your team doesn't have work in a month or a year because your days have been bogged down in the nitty gritty rather than something bigger. So by filtering the noise, you actually can serve everyone else better. And I thought that story was a great way of actually looking at it.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Barry, thank you for coming on today. I'm sorry it's got I'm sorry that it's got to be short, but I know you've got other meetings to get to. I could keep on chatting to you about this stuff for hours, I think, and it would be hugely
Yeah.
valuable. But I do appreciate your time. If people want to find out more about how you can help and what you do, how is the best way for them to get in contact with you?
So it's probably my website, barrycryan.com. And otherwise, then it's probably maybe Instagram. It's at Cryan Barry, Cryan Barry on Instagram. And they're probably maybe the best ways to connect with me right now.
Perfect. Before you go, I have one quick question for you.
Yeah.
The title of this podcast is Systemize Your Success, but what does success mean to you and why?
Success mean to me, and I always try to keep this in the back of mind, is just being the best version of myself. If I can be that 10, that 10.0 version of me, none of us are perfect, but if I can be that person, a person as much as possible, then I've won. Because guess what? If I'm that, I'm going to impact my clients. I'm going to impact my family, the people around me, the world around me. So I think for me, anyways, personally, it's being the best version of myself as much as possible. Okay, not beating myself up if not 100% fine, but being the best version of myself as much as possible. Because if I can, then I can impact everything around me. And I think to me, that's what success is.
I love that answer, Barry. I really, really do. I relate to that hugely. So yeah, amazing. Thank you very much for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Dr. Steve.